Officer Andrew Delkey and Daniel Hambrick crossed paths for the first time on July 26, 2018. But only one of these men would walk away alive. The fatal encounter began on the streets of North Nashville. Officer Delkey was on patrol, searching for a stolen vehicle. At some point, while Hambrick pulled inside an apartment complex and took off, allegedly armed with a gun, surveillance video shows the men, both 25 years old at the time, in a full sprint. They round a corner, and then you see Officer Delkey stop, plant his feet, and fire at Hambrick as he runs away. Hambrick falls and never gets back up. According to reports, Hambrick was hit 3 times, twice in the back and once in the back of the head. City officials forced to respond as community outcry intensified.
My role is to make sure that on the front end, we are doing the absolute best we can as a community when it comes to policing.
The district attorney releasing video of the shooting, hoping its bid to be transparent will build trust with the Black community.
The police officer fired 4 times. 3 of those bullets ripped Daniel apart.
But the move is a little solace for Hambrick's grieving family.
My daughter is now thinking that the police is the enemy.
According to a warrant, Officer Delkey said he saw Hambrick holding a gun and that Hambrick didn't comply with verbal commands. Despite his claims, prosecutors filed charges shortly after the release of the video. Hambrick's family faced Delkey during a pretrial hearing. Defense attorneys suggesting Delkey was simply following police practice from the moment he squared his feet and pulled the trigger.
He's doing what he's taught to do, that this is the most serious thing the police do, and if they have to use deadly force, they want to hit what they're aiming at.
But the prosecution countered, questioning the witness about Delkey's decision to use deadly force.
You're in agreement with me that that was the decision that he made?
I'm in agreement he made the decision because the subject had a gun in his hand and wouldn't follow directions to put it down.
The judge ruled the case should go to a grand jury.
Mr. Delkey, is there anything you want to say to the family?
And in January 2019, Officer Andrew Delkey was indicted for first-degree murder.
Her son is gone for no reason.
For now, Officer Andrew Delkey remains decommissioned, free on bond, and facing the possibility of life behind bars if he's convicted.
And joining me from Memphis, Tennessee, criminal defense attorney, civil attorney Jeff Lee is back with us. Jeff, great to see you. The timing of this case, when it was originally scheduled, it was before the George Floyd death. Now it's going to be and take place after George Floyd's death and probably after George Floyd trial. Your thoughts about how much that has changed things for former Officer Delkey?
Well, I know that's definitely in the mind of the defense because the defense attorney has tried several times to change the venue. He has specifically mentioned protests that are about Jacob Blake, that are about George Floyd. So the defense is certainly concerned that on a national level, jurors will be affected and those cases will be on their mind as they're deciding this case.
And you mentioned venue. The venue change was denied. This case is going to be heard where it happened. Your thoughts about that? I mean, something that has created as many headlines locally as this one has, but now you put it on top of everything else that has happened since. How do you find those jurors who can be fair and impartial?
Well, according to the defense, they can't. You know, they need to take it somewhere else. And they tried a motion to change the venue. They tried to go to a higher court. It was denied. They filed it again recently based on some of the news coverage we've seen nationally. Their follow-up now is to say, well, we need at least 300 jurors. You know, we need so many jurors that we have the chance to say no to every single person who's prejudiced by pretrial publicity. Now, the judge in this order has said, you know, just because someone's familiar with the case, that they've seen it on the media, that doesn't mean that they're prejudiced. So you will have your chance, defense, to ask these people these questions, but we're going to have the trial here in Nashville.
And finally, there's a video here. I mean, how powerful is the video itself versus anything else that this jury may hear during the course of the trial?
What I've learned from videos is 12 people can look at it and have 12 different opinions. You know, we're talking about a time frame of 1.9 to 2.4 seconds. I mean, you see a lot of running, but the piece that really matters is right at the moment that Officer Delkey assumes a firing stance. and you see that Mr. Hambrick is still running. Now, what the defense is arguing is that maybe he turned. You know, he could have turned within those 2 seconds, and he could have had a gun in his hand. And the prosecution is saying that's just not possible as quickly as Mr. Hambrick was running.
Jeff Lee, always great to have you on the program. We don't have a lot of time tonight as much as usual, but thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.